Now, we met when you had announced you were retiring, and they were looking for hosts. I don't know if you remember this. But
Yes, I do.
Do you remember? See, that's the thing. I don't know how you remember this stuff. Do you have an amazing memory?
Well, I don't. I've forgotten. I don't know.
Because you had to have met a ton of people at that point that were coming through to audition. I think they
yes.
tested.
How many people did audition?
They tested 5 of us,
Okay.
I think.
Oh,
But,
I think.
but they, as far as took to
The stage and
the stage, host the show with the audience, and then actually put it in front of a focus group. I think there was 5. I think there was probably 12, 15 that came through, and they just did an audition as far as see if you can host a game. And then
Wow.
oftentimes the answer was no.
No.
And especially oftentimes, because Bob was the one that you were comparing it to, was like, no, absolutely not. That's going to be terrible. Oh, no, it was terrifying.
Well, in
No.
your case,
oh,
you didn't. They didn't hire you to host
Right.
it. But would you like to produce
Yeah,
it?
that was a very weird move for me.
Well, I thought when I heard about that, I thought, well, that's strange. A guy comes in to host the show, and he doesn't get the job, but you can produce it.
Yeah. I remember thinking, thank you? I think that's good for me. So you said a couple of things to me right when we met. You said, when you go out there, just be yourself. And so I pretended to be you. And then the other thing was that you asked if I had hosted an audience participation show. And the truth is, no one really has, because there aren't very many,
That many.
anymore. So there's
That's right.
there's no way to have. And I went, no. I did stand up. I mean, it was. And my question is, how do you think hosting price audience participation? Let's make a deal. Audience participation. What's the host job on those shows versus what Alex Trebek is on Jeopardy or a regular quiz show?
Well, of course, Alex Trebek, I think, is perfect for his show.
Absolutely.
He's absolutely perfect for his show. And he is complete. He approaches it completely differently from what I did Price, or when I did Truth or Consequences, which it's too long ago. You wouldn't remember that.
Oh,
But-
no, I've seen it.
Oh, do you remember?
Oh, absolutely.
Well,
You did that. That's the funny thing. You did it for 18 years, and it's like that's
So-
nothing compared to Price, which was 35. But 18 years
It's
is
huge.
everyone else's career.
Well, it's a long run.
TV.
It's a long play,
Sure.
long run. That's right. You complimented me on being so funny with people. Well, I had never done. I'd never been in a school play.
Wow.
I had never been on a stage. I knew nothing about interacting with people. And I got a job in a little radio station, which is another. How long do we have?
You have unlimited tape.
Well,
Forever.
I was a fighter pilot in the Navy during World War II. And when I came home, I was going to finish college. And I was married when I got my wings. And so I had my wife, and I wanted to get a part-time job. And I had not only never been on a stage or done anything resembling what I ended up doing for the rest of my life, I had never even been in a radio station.
Wow. Really?
But I heard about the manager of a radio station.
Wait, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Wait, hang on. I want to get to the. But so you had never done. I mean, were you funny in front of people when you gave a speech in class? I mean,
Yeah, were you like a class clown at all, or?
Well, I could get laughs in conversation.
Okay.
But I was never the life of the party
Did
or
people
anything
ever
like that.
say that you had a nice
I've never
voice?
had a lampshade on my head or anything.
well, we're changing that today. So okay, so just this is out of nowhere.
But I heard about the manager of a radio station there in Springfield, Missouri, is where it was, who was crazy about airplanes. And I thought, if he's crazy about airplanes, he might like to have a former fighter pilot work for him. So I put on my naval officer's uniform and my wings of gold, and I went in and I met G. Pearson Ward, and he and I talked for about 45 minutes about airplanes, and I had my first job in radio.
And really, your first audience participation moment, because that
No,
ability
not-
is
not-
no, but I mean not in the radio station, but I mean your ability to read people is unbelievable. In Truth or
Well-
Consequences, you picked every contestant.
I did.
On Price is Right, you picked who you were going to interact with and who you were going to fly by.
That's right.
I mean, that ability is another underrated. You make it look so easy. It's painful.
Well, I've got to tell you, and I thank the good Lord, that's just a God-given talent that I had. When on Truth or Consequences, I knew what we were going to do. And I would go out there, and I'd pick out the right person for each one, or the right couple, or the right group, and they played. And the writers loved it that I had that skill, because I made a lot of bad acts look better.
Sure, because you would put it on your shoulders and
go run. Well, I had to. That's how I
Right.
survived. But in any event, I got this job in this little radio station. And in those days, if you're working in a little radio station, you had a chance to do everything. I did news, I did sports, I had a disc jockey show. I'm tone deaf, and I selected my own music. And I'd get Downbeat magazine. Have you ever seen Downbeat?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I'd start commenting, and the people thought I really knew all about music because I was reading Downbeat. But in any event, I had never done an audience participation show, and on my shift, there was an audience participation show, and there was a host. And this host was never embarrassed to take a drink. And so apparently one day he took a few too many and he didn't show up. And everything was live in those days.
Sure.
And G. Pearson Ward came rushing in there and said, "Bob, you have to get in there and do that show."
It's like
well,
an
I knew the
understudy
show
moment.
because it was on my shift.
Right.
And so I went charging in there. I didn't have time to get nervous. I grabbed a microphone just like the one I'm holding now and went out and started the show. And I'll never forget, I said something to a lady, and she said something to me, and I said something, and they roared with laughter, and it startled me. I kind of jumped. And I thought, oh, that's a beautiful sound.
That is
I'm going to try to
bottle.
make them do that some more. and I did. And I went home, and I had decided I wanted to stay in radio, but I didn't know what I wanted to specialize in. Sports,
Because
news.
at the time, radio was not. Radio was bigger than TV. TV
Oh,
was
yeah.
a little
This was
gnat.
46.
Sure.
1946.
People don't
Television.
get that. Like that radio was king.
Actually, the big deal.
Then TV, and then movies was kind of, it was
Right.
radio
Right.
was king at the
No,
time.
radio was
Yeah.
big then. And fortunately, my wife heard that show. And when I came home, she said, "Barker, that's what you should do." She said, "You did that better than you've ever done anything else."
Wow.
God,
She
I
didn't
have
say I was
goosebumps.
good. She just said I did
better
better
than
than
anything
anything. So she and I set out from that day on to try to get me on a national show.
Wow.
And that's my story. But by the time I started doing national television, I had done so many shows in so many places under such different circumstances. She and I came out here, and we got a show going for the Southern California Edison.
Right.
Company.
Was that the Bob Barker show? Right?
That was I named it myself.
Good
Right.
title.
Andy's good at naming.
we went all over Southern California doing shows, 2 a day. We'd go to Pomona and San Bernardino, or Pomona, and San Bernardino, or we'd go to Ventura and Oxnard, and I did one show after another, and
Probably under
I was
tough
ready
conditions.
when I got Truth or Consequence.
Right.
Yeah.
Although, it's interesting. I worked for Dick Clark for 3 years. I was the vice president of his production company. His story on Bandstand is similar, which is he got into the station
Right.
that they were doing Bandstand in Philadelphia, and the guy who was the host of Bandstand had enjoyed a beverage or 17 as well.
Right.
Oh, wow.
And ended up, I think, had a drunk driving incident.
I feel like the moral of the story is just don't drink.
No, the moral of the story is to find people who drink
and
be
then-
in the place right before they screw up. That is what you do. And then you jump in, you're like,
You gotta befriend some drunken
love it.
people.
look who's clean and sober.
You
This
you
guy.
should write a book on getting jobs, and that would
be the
that
lead.
would be the lead.
But it's that ability to jump in on a moment's notice and be ready. And you guys, I've been so lucky to get to know legends. I mean, literal legends. And Dick would tell that story, and it was, he was very funny as well. He was more gruff. He was a little, he was so aggressive that it was hard for him to even unwind. And that's what I loved about him. I mean, because he and I we're similar in that way, which is, I'd be going, "Why aren't we going?" and he'd be going, "Why aren't we going?" And so we
I
got
think
along
it's
in that
so
way.
magical to hear those moments, though, because when you listen to I feel like every great performer has that moment where it just clicked and it seems like magic, and it's like you just get goosebumps every time hearing when people realized, oh, this is it. Like this, that's amazing. It's really cool.
And how much I know you in interviews have credited Dorothy Joe so much
Right,
for
well,
really
listen,
driving you.
We wouldn't be sitting here without Dorothy Joe, I'll tell you. I don't know where I would have ended up or what I'd been doing, but she pointed me the right direction. But she didn't just point me. She produced my radio show.
Right.
Wow.
And she and I wrote them. And she was right beside me. And things weren't moving as fast as I'd like. I wanted a national show. I get discouraged. She'd say, "Barker, you are the world's greatest master of ceremonies. You're going to make it."
Wow.
And at WGMC, she got me WGMC cufflinks and this sort of thing, And she was there bucking me up when I get discouraged.
That's so cool
when
that
I got
she was
discouraged.
talented in that way.
I beg your pardon?
That's so cool that she was talented in that way, and a
Oh, yes.
producer and a writer.
And she was an excellent writer.
Yeah.
And she was very good at everything in radio. And she was a pre-med student.
Oh, my
She
God.
had a degree in biology and had been accepted in a very good medical school, Washington University in St. Louis, and was headed on a career in medicine. And when I got my wings, I said, I came home to Springfield. We got on a train, went up to St. Louis, got married, and her life changed. She forgot about medicine.
So she went from going to med school to ending up at a tiny radio station in Springfield.